Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new podcast series of Grow to Togetherness. And we are kicking it off with Nick Bergman as our special guest. Hi, Nick. Welcome, man.
Hi,
Hi, Nick.
thank you for having me. Thank you. Looking forward to our conversation today.
All right, pleasure's all ours. So cool. Let's kick it off, right? So let's do a little bit of an introduction around Nick. So Nick is currently the business development director at Iron Mountain. He is leading there lots of dialogues and helping customers on a global information management skill and document management. His ambition is creating growth really by working with customers, and he's passionate about innovative solutions to help customers succeed in an ever-changing world. So thanks, Nick, for joining us in this great conversation. Nick, I think we know each other already around, what is it? I think 20 years or so ago when we played football at a famous club in Zoetermeer. So yeah, it's great to have you back here and have an interesting conversation around this topic. So thanks again for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Were the good days in or youth, right? So a couple of years ago.
Exactly, exactly. All right, but today it's not around football. It's all about the promise of this podcast, and that is why, but also I think more importantly, even I guess, and how to connect commercial and buyer activities in an account-centric approach. But before we start, we have a little bit of a tradition. So, Nick, could you tell us something that people don't know about you?
Yes, I can. A lot of people don't know I am married in Australia. Well, my wife knows because I married to her 5 years ago. But I don't tell that story often, and it's quite really happy story because we went to Australia 2 times before. And when I asked my wife to marry me, she said yes. And we were 10 years together at that point of time. And we decided that if we were going to marry each other, it would be in Australia. So we went there and had a really nice wedding on the Eco Beach in the West Coast. So really nice sunset. It's really, yeah, for me, it's a good story, but I don't tell that often to people. So that's something not very uh, close people know about me.
Must have been an amazing experience, right?
Absolutely, one of the best of my life.
I think people are jealous right now.
Can imagine.
Great. So good. Yeah, let's kick it off, Nick. So
Yes.
actually, the first kind of question related to this topic of today. Uh, I'm very curious. Could you mention one milestone in your life, or better said, that changed your life? It can be business related or personal related.
Yeah, I think, a couple of life events, you could say, that changed my life. I will stick to a life event also together with my wife. We were climbing a mountain in Patagonia. So don't be jealous on that. But in that moment, we climbed the mountain, and it was really steep and challenging. And we managed to have a hike for 14 hours, and
Wow.
really, seeing her overcome the challenge and succeed really gave me the feeling of joy, right? So related to my work in sales, it's really a feeling of, basically winning the deal together with the team, but really give you that feeling that is really something what is important for me.
Is it making the impossible possible?
Yeah, you could say that. Absolutely.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think it's. I've never climbed a mountain probably like that, and not that high. So I would really, I would really admire that. And what I hear also, it's it really felt like a team effort, right? So it's really inspiring to hear that. Let's go a little bit deeper on into the topic actually of today, right? And let's kick it off with really the growth fundamental on this topic. What you see in the market, a lot still happening, right? Is sales, marketing, customer success. They truly are separate entities and chasing a revenue number, right? All as individual components, so to say. But companies that are taking a different approach, right? That dare to play a different game. They play the new game of grow to togetherness. Really are doing it more in a combined effort, right? In a joint effort to realize growth and understand that growth is more than just a revenue number. Playing the new game of growth to togetherness means assessing also the way you engage with buyers, probably in a different type of way. So, what approach would you recommend the audience to take to become more account-centric actually in this?
Yeah, exactly. I think first of all, it's really important to focus on the high potential accounts with mutual or similar values, similar to your own company, right? And really connect with the vision and the mission of those customers, of those accounts, and really understand the personas you're engaging with, not only for the business drivers, but also for their personal goals, what they are trying to achieve on that level. And what I experienced in my career, you really have to have the engagement with the entire decision-making unit, and have that understanding of how the organization, the customer is built. And lastly, I think to have the more outcome-based selling approach. Really set up the discovery, understanding the customer, and going backwards. Set the outcome, what is the customer trying to achieve, and how can we get there? And that is really something customers appreciate, and you can really advise the customer to work together.
I think what you're mentioning, Nick, is about high potential accounts. That's very often in our conversations when we talk about high value customers or high potential customers, people connect it to revenue. But there's so much more to it, like you're saying, that you share the same values. That your vision, your mission, your company culture, etc. So there's so much more to it to find that long-lasting and happy customer. So, and what you're also saying, that what you like to achieve at the end is that long-term relationship. And that goes beyond where you're working probably, and you always deliver that value to your customer. Do you recognize that?
Absolutely agree on that, Lisbeth. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for sharing that, Nick. And I think overall scene, right? It's having a deep and good understanding of your buyers is one thing, right? But I think having that holistic view also on what all these buyers, how they interconnect, and how as a collective buying group you can help them make the best decision. That is really a more strategic approach to selling, and If you look at your own sales career, could you tell maybe a little bit how you have developed those skills for yourself as well along that path?
Yeah, sure, definitely. I think in my career, I started off with small mid-market
Mm-hmm.
um, customers, and the engagement is really around a small group of personas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I moved further into my career, it went to more large accounts, global accounts, what I'm currently working at, and the really decision-making unit gets larger, right? So you have a lot of
Yeah.
personas, a lot of decision makers, influencers in that process. And as companies are becoming more agile, working more in tribes, you have the different kind of personas who are all equal relevant. You have to, yeah, really improve your own skill set to engage in that conversations and really understand what he is trying to achieve from a different perspective. I think that is really key to be a good sales person and get the successes out of your opportunities.
Yes, and that said, the, if you really want to engage with the entire DMU or buying group, however you would like to call it, when you keep on talking about your product, you will lose a part of the stakeholders there with a chance
Absolutely.
of blocking or whatever, or the positive influence they potentially can have. And at the same time, when you talk about what your solution is bringing to them, to each individual stakeholder, then you know how to play that game.
Agree. Yeah, that's also in my experience really a game changer in different kind of yeah opportunities I encountered.
Yeah. Talking about that game changer, um, when we have our conversations, everyone sees the value of growth through togetherness. Together you're better, you're stronger, it's so much more fun. But at the same time, most companies are still acting, as separate entities. What do you think are the obstacles that make it difficult to really make that change, to make it happen?
Yeah, I see in my experience within different organizations that is really has has to be a shared responsibility and to build that bridge between sales and marketing, but really very often they act in silos. Really, the alignment is crucial. For example, I think it's really key to have marketing also accountable for revenue contribution,
Hmm.
right? Not
Mm-hmm.
only sales, but
Yeah.
really have the shared accountability on that. And it really comes down to uh, ownership and also the willingness to act on feedback and improve the team, but also the individuals to work on that.
I love that last part, right? I think we've also had some experience, right, Lisbeth, with implementing feedback loops and these types of things, right?
Hmm.
But it's you can have the greatest loop of feedback, right? But if there's no willingness to actually act on it, right, and there's no environment created to actually act on it, then yeah, you still can't implement it to make yourself better. So I love that. I love that one. There needs to be a willingness and a desire actually to become better and see feedback as a critical loop into that.
Yeah, but I think that obstacle, what you're saying, like that marketing is often not responsible for revenue, or together with sales, of course. I think that is one of the biggest problems. How can they take you seriously? Or if your targets are X number of MQLs or X number of event visits, and so on. It's harder also, I think, for the marketing leaders, for the CMOs to drive the right conversations with their CEO, CFO, etc. And once they say, hey, I want to be partly accountable for that as well, then you become a real serious player in how are we going to achieve that together.
Right, that leads us into to the next part of the conversation. So we talked a little bit about the approach to take to become more account-centric. Also, what obstacles that make it difficult. We discussed a little bit around the fact that you don't need to push your product too early. Because it's really about aligning those different stages of a buyer's journey in a selling cycle. So what is the main criteria to be successful actually in connecting those sales activities, probably per sales process stage, connected to the buying activities per buying process stage? What is the main criteria to be successful in that?
Yeah, I think, and also Lisbeth referenced on that, really the mind shift in the process. I think to be successful in connecting the sales activities to the buying activities, really have to engage in the selling process based on the outcome for the customer. Really, I can give you an example.
Yeah, please.
To have a more understanding of what is an outcome for a customer, what are they trying to achieve. And if I look to a strategic objective, for example, in insurance, we have a lot of companies who want to be a leading digital insurer in 2030, right? So what do they have to accomplish to have that objective realized in 8 years, right? So what is really key is, of course, listening, but definitely understanding the current state, and also the ecosystem of the customer. And what I mean by ecosystem is getting a clear view on how is their tech stack currently built up, and eventually the whole IT environment. Because if you don't have an understanding on that, you are advising the customer based on not your knowledge of the customer. So focus on the main challenges they have and what they're trying to achieve. And then, and only then, you can advise and help the customer and build a business case. And you can eventually aim your account-based marketing approach also on those customer initiatives, really the sales activities, connect to the buying activities. What is the customer doing now? What is the current state? And what are they trying to achieve? And I think for the internal organization, of course, you have the commercial director, who's really important in that process. Also, product management, the vice president product management really has to be keen on what product do we need to help the customer.
Yeah, to help them address that problem or challenge or issue. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think also sales enablement is able to train the sales force. But what, in my experience, is lacking in that process is a really successful strategy, a really go-to-market strategy with new propositions. And I'm curious because you have a lot of experience in that area. Can you share some thoughts on really the go-to-market strategy and what is really important in that part?
Hey, who's the host here?
Yeah.
I think you
I
are,
was
Nick.
expecting that.
Who are
Anything
you?
for,
Who are
for
you
that?
asking? Jeroen or me?
Lisbeth,
Please
I'm
don't
really
me.
curious.
Me. I think a few things here. Starting with the vision. What would you like to achieve with your go-to market? How competitive would you like to be? If you want to be the cheapest or the most fancy, tomorrow there's another one. So I think from a vision perspective, it's very important to have an understanding how you can take that competitive advantage. From our view, it's a big opportunity to connect your company's purpose to your go-to market. So where are you actually standing for? What would you like to change in the world? So that is one thing. And secondly, it's very important. A lot of companies saying, hey, we have a go-to market, but really connecting your growth strategy to what account would you like to acquire, to that deep understanding you were talking about, and also the role each of these personas, these stakeholders play in that buying group. And then connect and then upwards to your whole messaging strategy connected to how the buyer behave, what you were saying, and not how you would like to sell. So take it from the buyer's perspective and then build it all up towards your sales enablement, your BDR playbook, your campaign strategy, your account-based marketing strategy. But at the end, it's about connecting all those dots in that whole process of people, your market knowledge, you're talking about the sales force, but I would say the commercial force. How can you really be successful together from the beginning till the end? So that was kind of maybe a little bit of high level, but at least that it's very important to have all those steps in place and to make sure, talking about feedback loops, Jeroen, that all the time, it can be that something is not working in the market. Then you have to revisit what you're having there, and then make sure to discover what does work.
Yeah, it's a continuous process, right? So things
Mhm.
like your ICP is I would highly recommend to start revisiting that, most likely at least on a quarterly basis or so, or if of course if a big compelling event arises, then you should do that instantly. But I think that the main thing, that I think with a go-to-market approach as well, right? It's continuously being aware what steps to take, right? And if you skip steps, then there's a reason why these steps are in place, right? So if I would be looking, for example, also to plot it more to an account-centric process, if let's say the buyer is in a stage where they are just becoming aware that they have business problems, that then an activity for them would be to start searching and identifying how others are solving that. If you as a seller would then instantly come in with, we have this great product with feature A, B, C, D, E, or let's please come to this meeting so we can show our demo. Yeah, that for sure that is not aligned, right? So,
Mhm.
but also the other way around. If they are evaluating alternatives, all right, as a buyer, for example, and you come in, try to make them aware of their business problems, they've already passed that stage, right? So it's all about continuously being aware where you're in, I think. And I think that's at least something which I have learned as well over the last 13 years, being in different commercial go-to-market and marketing roles. It's especially in more enterprise or account-centric complex selling, it's not a two-stage approach with just two buyers to influence, right? Like Nick said, there's probably SaaS solutions and offerings for that, but that's not the game that is most likely designed for a more account-centric play, which is just taking up 6 or more buyers and most likely also 3 or more quarters.
Exactly. Well, I recognize that, Jeroen. It is really around the improvement and really have your strategy lined up. So don't miss any steps, right? So really have to think a lot of how you approach the market, how you're going to do it, but also when and how you're set up for that. I think I really recognize that because in some cases it's really stick to the plan and have no improvement or adjustment around that to do it differently, right? So that's really something I recognize as well.
Yeah. So we were talking about that commercial togetherness. So what is the effect if you're able to reach that moment that you're really working closely together, having a strong alignment, or better said, maybe a complete integration of responsibilities and accountability?
Well, I think two things. I think first of all, you can realize really fast, sustainable, and scalable growth more easily. And secondly, also the fun of working together. It really stimulates the results and the enthusiastic approach really stimulates other employees as well and really want to engage and really work for the company.
It's funny that you're mentioning it. Do you know where if is standing for?
I don't actually. That's a shame of me, but I don't know what it stands for.
There are two things. The one is the imaginary, imagine if, but secondly, it's impact and fun.
Impact and fun. Yeah, well, spot on. Really nice.
But I would like to add maybe a third to the effect of commercial togetherness, and I think that's the kind of the consequence of working together. It's fun. It's also stimulating a very positive company culture. If you're connected to attracting and retaining talented people, that people are really care about each other, helping each other, willing to make that difference together. I think that's a very important value you can develop by simply getting the right processes in place, having shared goal settings and KPIs. So I think it's also a great start of building a great culture.
You're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really good one.
Cool. Right. Let's lean into the topic of future growth. So we talked a little bit about all kinds of facets for the account-centric process. So you have continuously developed yourself as well, Nick, and your skill set. Coming from an SMB environment, a little bit more into B2C, now driving strategic global business development for a large player as Iron Mountain, really strongly defined into the upmarket segment, as we say, or enterprise segment. So, what are your top priorities connected to this topic, actually?
My top priorities, I think, working for market-leading companies, also in the past. I think the strong collaboration with our customer success team, because we are serving our customers with white glove service, right? So we have the relationship in place, but really collaborate and building on the relationship to really help the customer achieve their objectives, right? Really overcome their challenges. And for that, I need a deep understanding of the customer. So that's my second priority in my job, to really have the conversations with the right personas and have the discovery around the pain points and the challenges and what they're trying to achieve. Really have that in place to move forward and develop the solution and really engage and work through the sales pipeline and really have the deals for growth as well as Iron Mountain, as well as for the customer to have the win-win situation, right?
I love it from multiple perspectives, right? I think your priorities is one is focus on the with customer success, the collaboration. So really about the internal team, and the other one is obviously the external, right? The market, the buyer.
Yep.
Two needs to be truly integrated and interlinked, right? From that perspective. So I love that from that side that you share that.
Great. So we come to the last part, Nick. The question is, could you give us 3 tips how to get started with connecting selling activities to buying activities?
Yes, I can. I think first of all, listen to the customer, understand his market, his world. And secondly, building on long-term relationships and connecting with customers' key initiatives. And in my case, also really work together with partners, service integrators, and really have that broader collaboration in place. And thirdly, lastly, really leverage with all the buyer personas. To have that summarized.
Yeah.
Cannot add anything there.
No. Sorry, I'm quiet.
Tak. Yes. Okay, I've noted them. I'm
I
going to
love
work on
it.
it tomorrow.
Really. Be concise, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So no, been a great conversation, man, Nick. With some
Likewise.
interesting tips and talking points as well. I think what people don't know about you from the mountain, and now you working for Iron Mountain, huh? No coincidence.
And my last name is Bergman. It's Dutch for mountains. It really connects, right?
Yeah. Nick Mountain.
It's all in the
name. Exactly. What's in the name? So,
it's in the name. Exactly.
No, I love the concrete tips at the end. So for me, this is I think a couple of things in it, right? It's a good old process. It's a mindset shift that you need to take. That's what I've got out of it. Also, when you want to, and it's your desire, and you admire that, you can, and it's in line with your career path or growth, whatever you want to call it. You can take the step from SMB to enterprise, right? Nick is I think also from B2C to B2B. So it's an even more, I would say, steep path or higher mountain, maybe rephrase it like that. But it's all possible. And I think the third one, and definitely not underestimate that one, is the people element, right? Try to really truly understand and connect with your internal team as well as the buyer. I think that's so critical. So I would wrap it up like that for the podcast. So yeah, thanks so much, Nick, for being our guest.
Thank you for
having me. If you want to learn more about you, right? I would first highly recommend to Google 2002 Nick Bergman DSO football goals.
Yeah.
If you can't find any hits, right, then we most likely they can connect you on LinkedIn, I guess.
Yeah, please reach out. I have all the football videos and all the tips and tricks for you. So
cool.
Definitely.
So from 2 angles, it's interesting to reach out to Nick, right? For football and truly strategic account selling. So thanks again for being our guest, Nick, and thanks everybody for listening in. And we will see you next time around.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.